Hi there, this is Jennifer with Brome Fields, and today I'm going to be working on the fin and feather stitch. And this is one I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I just love the look of it. It does look a little funny like this because I only have one section on here. But I'm working on a blanket. I haven't quite finished it yet. And I really like the scalloped edge that it has. So I'll show you some pictures later, but it is coming together very nicely. So I really have been enjoying this stitch, and it's very easy to memorize. And the other thing is I didn't want to have a border on it. I really like borderless. So I am doing an I-cord on this blanket while I'm knitting it, so it doesn't curl so much on the edge. I'll show you the other side of it too. So you can see, I think it has a very nice edge. And I got this idea from The Gift of Knitting. And I have been looking at how I can incorporate this I-cord into a pattern for a long time. And I finally found like the perfect pattern to do this. And it was really easy. So I think I'll be doing this more. Because I like this nice clean edge. Without a border. So that's just my personal preference. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm using Lion Brand Wool-Ease Thick and Quick yarn with size 13 knitting needles. I'm using a cable because it's what my preference, but if you're doing something small, you can use regular needles on my blanket. I believe I'm using a 40-inch, but I can probably get away with a 32-inch. Because I'm not making it very wide, making it more of a baby blanket / throw. And this is only a 4-row repeat. It's really easy to memorize. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the right side of the work. So row 1 is your right side with your yarn in the back. The first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches are a little make it a little more complicated, but once you do it a few times, you got it. It's really easy. So with the yarn in the back, we're going to slip this first stitch purlwise, and then we're going to knit this first stitch. So we do that on the front side of all the rows, and then we're going to knit all of the stitches. So the first 2 stitches and last 2 stitches are not part of the repeat. Just all of the stitches in between are. And this is just one repeat, this swatch. I just wanted to give you an idea of how it all comes together. So now we're down to our last 2 stitches. So with our yarn in the back, we're going to slip one purlwise, bring the yarn forward, and purl this last stitch. And you'll see in this, when we flip it to the wrong side, I'm going to slip this stitch with the yarn in the back. I'm going to slip it purlwise, and then I'm going to purl the second stitch, but I'm purling all of the stitches in between. So this edge, you can see how that is a nice knit stitch, and it twisted that purl stitch into a knit stitch. It's kind of like magic. I love how knitting comes together. Doesn't always work the way I think it should in my head. Now we're down to our last 2 stitches. So with the yarn in the front, we're going to, because this is the purl side, so that's how I remember where I hold my yarn. The yarn always stays on the purl side. So now with my yarn in front, I slip one purlwise and then purl that last stitch. the last stitch on every row gets purled. So that helps, helps me memorize the pattern. Now we are on row 3, back to the right side of the work. So with the yarn in the back, we're going to slip this first stitch, and then we're going to knit this first stitch. And this is where we do our increases and decreases. So we're going to knit 2 together 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to yarn over, knit 1 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to knit 2 together 3 times. And then we're down to our last 2 stitches. So we're going to, with the yarn in the back, slip 1 purlwise and purl that last stitch. And it does all come together nicely. It's a very pretty stitch. Then the last row, we're going to purl. And that brings it all together. So with the yarn in the back, we're going to slip 1 purlwise, and then we're going to bring the yarn forward and purl all of the stitches. And this really brings it all together. Down to our last 2 stitches with the yarn in the front, slip 1 purlwise, and then purl that last stitch. So we have that bar back there. And then start back over on row 1. So that is it. That is the fan and feather stitch. Super pretty. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, and thank you guys so much for watching.